Hi, and welcome to Game Plan with Marcus Hersh. It's our weekly video look at a daily digital product you can find at DRF.com under the handicapping and PP section of our website. The part of Game Plan that I'm focusing on in this video is a playbook where we look for particular horses you might want to have a bet on, or that we might be having bets on at various tracks around the country. I usually try to pick track I don't cover, that I don't do picks for, where you can already find my selections at DRF.com, and in the print edition right now that's Laurel, Canterbury, Arlington, and Indiana Grand. I am interested in the at Belmont Park on Saturday, June 1st. Belmont will be the site of a lot of excitement on Saturday, June 8th, a massive multi-grade 1 card featuring Belmont Stakes. This card, I'm going to start off in race 2, which is a first level allowance with an $80,000 claiming option, carded for 1 1/8 miles on turf for 3-year-old fillies. It is a short field of 6, a little surprising. And the horse that caught my eye is listed at 10 to 1 on the morning line, number 3, Repatriated Gem. I suppose she could be, I wouldn't think she'd be any longer than that. Could be shorter. I just don't think that I see much of a divide between her and the shorter priced horses in this race. In fact, I think there's a chance she's better than them. You got Passing Out outside at 9 to 5 on the line, a debut winner for Shiv McGahee. Looked fine doing it. On the rail, Cafe Americano, a debut winner for Chad Brown, 8 to 5 on the morning line. Todd Pletcher has Pep, who's 7 to 2 on the line. Those 3 horses are all going to take action, especially Chad Brown, Irad Ortiz, New York. This horse owned by Peter Brand and was 7 to 5, winning first out at Gulfstream in February. In a performance that I didn't think was, considerably better from what I saw than Repatriated Gem's debut race, which came at Tampa, got a lower speed figure, and because she's trained by Mike Stidham, who is a fine trainer in his own right, just doesn't take the sort of betting, generally speaking, at Belmont Park that a Chad Brown does. Repatriated Gem, I think especially is going to suit this 9 furlong distance. I would expect that's why she's been pointed to this race. If you watch her debut at Tampa Bay, she definitely gives the appearance of a horse who is running a mile there, who's going to appreciate an extra furlong. I thought that she finished not just with good energy and with a solid closing fraction, but striding out and with the apparent body type of filly who's going to relish longer distances. The fact that she was able to clear the maiden ranks second time out on a sloppy dirt track at Keeneland in a short stretch mile, I don't think any of those conditions probably especially suited her. She was even money for a reason in a short field. But I think that the race that you really need to look at as far as a jumping off point for this turf race is her debut at Tampa, which, the horses in front of her, Del Kaplan and Indigo Girl, I'm not saying those are superstars, but they have come back to run and prove perfectly competent. It's not some soft Tampa maiden race where the horses are going to wind up being $25,000 maiden claimers. Those are capable horses that she was closing on and was very competitive with in a race that I think she ought to improve off. And just in the short field and at the price and at the distance, I think that she's potentially playable. Paging forward to race 8, I believe, which is the Nyan Ridge for 3-year-olds, a prep for the Belmont Derby. The Rich race over 1.25 miles for 3-year-olds, one of the premier 3-year-old turf races in the world, actually, given the purse, and definitely in North America. The horse that interests me in this race is number 3, De Marchelier, who is listed at 9 to 2. Another horse that I can't see being any higher than that. I could see being lower. I guess just a bit of housekeeping here. Number 2, Swamp Rat, is expected to run at Monmouth Park, race in which he's cross-entered. And De Marchelier is one of 2 horses trained by Chad Brown. The number 1 value proposition is listed at 5 to 2. I don't know that the spread between these two is going to be as wide as those odds would indicate, but the line maker at Belmont Park, David Aragona, does a great job and knows the circuit and the horses very well. Perhaps he has a stronger grasp on their relative merits than I do, at least in terms of the eyes of the betting public. While value proposition was undoubtedly visually impressive first out, he did run in a short field on the yielding course that he clearly handled and was bet, accordingly. It was odds on in his debut. And that was all fine. That was good. He is obviously a nice prospect, but I've seen even more from De Marchelier in his first two starts. He beat a horse he runs against here today, Seismic Wave, in their common debut. I believe that was Seismic Wave's common debut, his debut as well. Excuse me, that was his second start. Seismic Wave is a nice horse. I thought he ran a very interesting and creditable race at Churchill Downs last time, where he really didn't find his best stride till the end. He's a good horse. He got through on the inside and had to jump on the Marchelier in that race they ran together last November at Aqueduct, and yet the Marchelier wheeled out, really hit his best stride the last half of furlong and showed, I thought, really tremendously promising acceleration to get up by a head with the sort of eye-catching finish that makes you think that you might be looking at a good horse. This is a rare horse by the excellent stallion Dubawi running in the U.S., whose horses, that's a, Godolphin stands that horse, and Charlie Appleby, their main trainer, has a lot of them, and I've heard him say any number of times that these horses get better at age 3 and improve with maturity and experience. This horse had the one run last year at 2, kept quiet over the winter, I'm sure targeting the summer turf season by Mr. Brown, Peter Brand, and made his return to action at Keeneland, where for the second time he faced a negative pace scenario, trying to rally into a slow pace, which he was able to do and win again, beating a horse named Award winner who returned to clear that first level allowance condition at Churchill Downs. I thought this was another very solid performance where the horse's talent is not fully represented by the bare margin of victory. I think that stretching out, the pedigree is it's an unbelievable pedigree by American turf standards. Out of a Sadler's Wells, Mayor Sadler's Wells, one of the great turf stallions of the 20th century, whose influence still is felt acutely around the world. No problem. It'd be a shock if this horse doesn't handle at least 9 furlongs and probably the 1.25 miles equally well. The spacing of his races suggests that this has kind of been the target all along, and I'm sure they're pointing to New York, the Belmont Derby, but that doesn't mean that he can't win this race. He's obviously going to be behind, and there's a bit of pace in the race. Clint Maroon looked good winning a slow-paced race, the Woodhaven on the lead over yielding course at Aqueduct. He's okay. I just don't see him having the upside. I think the horses that De Marchelier is going to have to beat are a stablemate and Seismic Wave. I think he's going to be up to that task now. If he's suddenly fancied at 2-1 or something, it becomes negative value as far as I'm concerned. But I'm going to trust the line to be at least fairly representative. I'm going to trust Chad Brown and De Marchelier and jockey Javier Castellano to have a very live contender in the Nyan Ridge. Good luck to you with your wagers in that race and this weekend.